There are 3 silent crimes committed in this hobby every single day. They don't look like crimes. In fact, the teenager at the local pet store probably sold you the exact tools to commit them. But by the time you realize what's happening, your pristine living room aquarium has transformed into an underwater graveyard, and you're left staring at a cloudy box of regret. These 3 crimes revolve around your gravel, your tap water, and that plastic container of fish flakes sitting on your stand. But before you panic and tear your entire room apart, we need to understand why these mistakes happen, why some tanks seem to survive them while others collapse, and how to fix the underlying biology once and for all. If you want your fish to actually thrive past their first year, stick around. We've got a lot more aquarium crimes to uncover. Today, we are breaking down the 3 biggest aquarium traps, plus a secret 4th crime that almost every beginner commits right when they try to fix their problems. First up, and probably the most common trap sold to every beginner on day 1, the open sewer substrate. The beginner walks into the pet store, picks out a shiny new tank, and immediately buys 2 bags of bright, coarse gravel. It looks clean, colorful, and fun. You dump it in, stack your plastic castle on top, and think you've built a 5-star hotel. Congratulations! You just built a permanent storage locker for organic sludge right under their fins. The problem isn't that gravel inherently exists. The problem is what happens when a coarse 10mm substrate becomes a trap. Imagine a cross-section of your tank. Coarse gravel leaves massive physical gaps. Every time your fish eats, every time your fish poops, and every dead plant leaf doesn't just sit on top. It sifts deep down into those tiny gravel caves. It sits there, rotting in the water column, decaying into toxic sludge, and pumping harmful bacteria straight into the water your fish breathe. The beginner notices the water getting cloudy, panics, buys a $40 chemical bottle, and wonders why the fish are still gasping at the surface. Now, experienced aquarists might say, "Wait, I have a $200 canister filter. Doesn't that remove the waste?" Here is where we need to separate mechanical, chemical, and biological filtration. A filter doesn't magically erase waste from existence. Mechanical filtration simply catches floating particles. Chemical filtration absorbs specific dissolved compounds. Biological filtration provides surface area for beneficial bacteria to process nitrogen. But if that waste is trapped deep inside your gravel bed before it ever reaches your filter intake, your filter can't save it. It's just sitting in your tank, decomposing. This is where sand changes the game. Fine sand creates a solid surface layer. Waste stays on top, where your mechanical filter or siphon can easily grab it, while the biological film on top goes to work. And here's where aquarium science gets interesting. Underneath a fine substrate bed, oxygen drops significantly. The word anaerobic sounds scary, but a low oxygen zone underneath 2 inches of sand supports a completely different microbial community from the oxygen-rich surface. When paired with a thin, nutrient-rich base layer, this creates an ecosystem that slowly breaks down organic matter while feeding live plant roots. But let me be crystal clear. I am not telling you to tear apart your Mbuna or Tanganyika tank tonight and bury potting soil underneath it. Different fish need different systems. A dirted sand bed is incredible for planted community setups, but African cichlids will dig it up in 5 minutes. The point isn't that one single substrate rules them all. The point is understanding what your substrate is actually doing with organic waste. But if you think decaying gravel is tricky, this second crime happens every time you turn on your kitchen tap. Which brings us to crime number 2. The pure water myth. When humans think of clean water, we think of crystal clear rain, zero mineral bottled water, or fancy reverse osmosis setups. So the beginner assumes that if RO water is great for human consumption, it must be absolute heaven for a tropical fish. They spend extra money buying pure water, pour it into the tank, drop their new fish in, and watch them float sideways a short time later. Here's the golden rule of aquarium chemistry. Stability is infinitely more important than purity. Fish don't care how pure your water looks in a drinking glass. They care whether the chemical parameters stay completely stable. To understand why pure water backfires, you have to understand the difference between KH and GH. Carbonate hardness, or KH, is basically your pH safety net. It acts as a chemical buffer that absorbs acids produced by biological waste. General hardness, or GH, measures the dissolved minerals like like calcium and magnesium that your fish rely on for osmotic balance. Purified RO water has a KH of 0. Without that safety net, the moment biological activity starts in your tank, your pH crashes down like a lead weight. Even worse, taking a fish raised in hard, mineral-rich water and dropping it straight into pure, soft water creates intense osmotic shock. Their cells absorb water rapidly due to the pressure difference, causing severe physiological stress. This leads to the classic beginner trap known as pH chasing. The beginner tests their water, sees a pH of 6.8, panics, and dumps in a pH up chemical. The pH spikes to 7.8. The next day, biological waste drops it back to 7.0, so they dump in more chemicals. Suddenly, their aquarium chemistry turns into an unpredictable casino, swinging wildly back and forth until the fish give up. Stop chasing a perfect number on a test kit and start maintaining a stable environment. Deep well water and standard municipal tap water loaded with stabilizing carbonates are usually much safer than pure RO water for the average beginner. African cichlids from Lake Malawi or Tanganyika thrive in hard alkaline water with a high KH, while Amazonian species prefer softer conditions. There is no universal perfect aquarium water. The best water on Earth for your fish is water that matches where they came from and remains rock-solid stable. If you ever do need to transition fish between different water chemistries, never dump them straight in. Use slow drip acclimation over several hours to match both temperature and parameters gradually. But as dangerous as unstable water is, it's nothing compared to the daily temptation sitting right next to your aquarium. And finally, at number 3, the absolute king of tank wipeouts driven by pure love and good intentions, the overfeeding serial crime. This is the ultimate psychological trap. The beginner walks into the room, steps up to the glass, and instantly, every fish in the tank swims to the front, wiggling frantically at the surface. The beginner smiles, thinks, "Oh look, they're starving, they love me," and dumps in a giant pinch of flaked food. Here's the truth. They aren't starving. They're opportunistic gluttons who have successfully trained you. Every time they swim to the glass, you drop food in. You didn't condition your fish to eat, your fish conditioned you to feed them. In nature, a fish's digestion is fast, and food supply is irregular. In a closed aquarium, excess food doesn't magically disappear. If uneaten food is routinely reaching the bottom and sitting there, your feeding strategy needs immediate attention. Excess food fuels massive bacterial blooms that strip dissolved oxygen out of the water column, spiking ammonia and crashing your biological balance. But overfeeding isn't just about how much you feed. It's also about what you feed. Feeding a one-size-fits-all generic community flake to specialized fish is a slow-motion disaster. An herbivorous Mbuna cichlid from Lake Malawi has a long digestive tract designed to process algae and plant matter. If you feed them heavy, protein-rich carnivorous pellets meant for a South American Oscar or a predatory frontosa, you trigger severe intestinal blockages and bloat. Conversely, large predators fed low-quality fillers packed with cornmeal will produce massive amounts of waste while starving for actual nutrition. Your feeding strategy must match the species, age, and metabolism of your tank. Growing fry need frequent, small feedings throughout the day. Young juveniles need consistent meals to build structure. But adult fish, especially large predatory species or mature cichlids, have much slower metabolisms. In a mature aquarium, fish naturally graze on microfauna and biofilms throughout the day. A hungry fish that is actively searching for food is a healthy, active fish. Feeding adult fish sparingly with high-quality, species-specific food isn't cruelty. It's the single best way to keep your water clean and your livestock thriving. Which brings us to the bonus fourth crime that almost everyone commits right when they try to fix the first 3, the complete tank reset. The beginner realizes their gravel is dirty, their pH is fluctuating, and they've been overfeeding. So, in a moment of sheer panic, they execute the nuclear option. They swap the filter cartridge, change all the substrate, do an 80% water change, scrub the rocks with tap water, and add new fish all on the same Sunday afternoon. They push the big red reset button. By wiping out the established biological film on every surface, they instantly crash their nitrogen cycle, sending the tank back to day 1 while the fish are still inside. Stop treating your aquarium like a glass decoration that needs to be scrubbed sterile, and start managing it like a living ecosystem. Your substrate is your habitat floor, your water is your chemical atmosphere, and your food is your nutrient input. When you balance those three inputs with patience, the ecosystem takes care of itself. If you've ever committed one of these crimes and paid the price with a tank crash, drop your confession in the comments below. Bonus points if you used to chase your pH with chemical bottles. If you want to make sure your next tank setup survives without turning into an underwater crime scene, check out the video on screen right now. This is Dark Cichlids, I'm Gravel, and I'll see you in the next one.